Hey everyone, Dr. Aaron Moreland here from Vallejo Health and Wellness Center in Eden Prairie, and I'm here today with Dr. Ryan Christensen. And what we want to do today is we keep talking about getting your brain tested. We keep telling people that they should get their brain checked. When we look at a wellness physical, that's part of the a major part of what we do. Again, looking at, hey, that runs your whole body, and so it's really important that you get this thing tested. Then, if this is what runs our whole body, and this is what's going to be controlling your body, then I think it's really important to know how well it's working. And so what I want to do today is I want to spend a minute testing your brain.
Cool.
Okay. Have you had your brain tested before, Ryan?
By you, actually.
Yes. So it's interesting. We do ask that question a lot to people, and people will usually jokingly say things like, "No, I don't want to know," or "No, I'm too scared to find out." But it is important. It is really important to find out how the brain's working. And a lot of people, well, how could you test my brain in your clinic? Don't I need to get like an MRI or a CAT scan? But that's really looking for like tumors or lesions, what we call a hard lesion. What we're looking for more is what we call a soft lesion. It's not even really a lesion. It's a part of the brain that's not working the way it's supposed to. So Ryan, have you ever been pulled over by the police before?
For a speeding ticket?
For a speeding ticket, yes. And the nice thing is you probably weren't drinking, so you didn't have to do what they call a sobriety test. But if you've ever watched TV, maybe you go on YouTube and you can see some people that have failed their sobriety test. What the police are looking at is they're actually looking at a part of the brain, this very back bottom part of the brain right here. If we look at it, it kind of looks like a little bit like a cauliflower. This thing here is called your cerebellum, and it controls your balance and movement. And alcohol really impacts your cerebellum. And so what we're going to do is test your cerebellum, okay? So I want to demonstrate just how easy it is for us to do a test of the brain. This is just one part of the brain, of the cerebellum, but I want to just demonstrate what that looks like. So Dr. Ryan, what I'm going to have you do is I want you to just put your feet together like this, and then all you're going to do is just stand and close your eyes. And what I'm looking for is I'm looking to see if he sways around. And so right now Ryan's doing really good. He's not moving anywhere. I'm looking to see what's happening in his eyes. A lot of times we'll see people's eyes really fluttering. Just a little tiny bit of movement, but nothing that you wouldn't expect to see. So that's really good. So again, if a person's been drinking, we'll see that person close their eyes and almost fall right over. But we've seen people come into our office that aren't drinking, and they do that, they close their eyes and they fall over. And the reason why they don't do that with their eyes open is they've gotten really good at using their eyes for their balance. But we want them to be able to use their brain for their balance, their cerebellum specifically. And so those are the people that will come into our office and they say, I'm pretty good until you shut the lights off, and then I have really bad balance, okay? And so it can be an indication that the cerebellum's not working the way they're supposed to. So then we have other parts of our brain, like the frontal lobe, okay? The frontal lobe does a lot of things. That's this part of the brain from about here forward. And it does a lot of different things. It's going to, you can go ahead and just stand looking at me. What it can do is the very front of it, it helps us to make executive decisions. It helps us to decide, hey, should I run out in front of that car or not? Should I do things that either are going to be harmful to myself or protective of myself? So that's what the frontal lobe does. It helps us make those decisions. It also helps us to have our personality. It's where we get a lot of our moods from. So that's the very front. And then up in the top, still part of the frontal lobe, is how we move our bodies. So one of the things that we can do to test that is we can see how well someone's eyes are moving. And so one of the things that we do, Ryan, if you want to just grab that, we put cameras on people's eyes, and if you just see right here that Dr. Ryan is just demonstrating that we'll put this camera on their eyes, and then what we'll do is we'll have them move their eyes in certain ways, and we can determine how well their eyes are moving. That can actually tell us how well their frontal lobe is working, okay? We also will do testing to see how someone's parietal lobe is working. The parietal lobe That's this part of the brain. So we got the frontal lobe, the parietal lobe just sits right behind the frontal lobe, and we could test that by sensation. So how a person can feel. I might use a pinwheel. We might use vibration. We can test to see how that's working. We had a lady come into the office a while back, and she was shuffling into the office like this. And I thought, well, maybe, because that's an early sign of Parkinson's disease, and yet she had good facial expression, she had all these other things going on. So I wanted to know, why would this lady shuffle like this? And so we started doing some testing on her, and I tested her sense of sensation in her feet, and came quickly to realize that, hey, she can't feel her feet. So she's walking like this because she can't feel her feet. So she actually had like a neuropathy in her feet, okay? And so it can be that the nerves are damaged here, but it also could be that they're damaged in the brain. So we'll test for that as well. And then the very back of the brain, that's how we test for vision. And so it's pretty easy to test for that. Just doing an eye chart can be helpful. The temporal lobe, this is a really important one, because what this one does is it does hearing, but it's more importantly it does memory. So we can test for memory by having people read a list of words and then tell them back to us. So those are the things that we can do for these parts of the brain. But if we open up the brain, which I'm just going to take the cerebellum off and taking off the temporal lobes, if we open up the brain has a part in it called the midbrain, or the brainstem. And so in that brainstem, just right here, in the brainstem we have a lot of our cranial nerves. It's also where we make a lot of our hormones, the hypothalamus, pituitary gland, the thalamus, like the relay center, so we can do a lot of testing of that. The cranial nerves are very easy to test because we can do things like eye movement again. We can test to see how well their pupils react to light and such. So when we're talking about doing brain testing, we're talking about testing all those different parts of the brain. So would you add anything to that at all, Dr. Ryan?
Oh, and it's definitely something that other practitioners don't do.
Yeah.
They might do just a simple eye test, or like
Yeah,
to go
or
in.
a reflex test. They might hit your knee with a
Yep.
reflex hammer, which is, it does test the brain, but just one part of the brain, and we're looking to test all those different parts of the brain. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely sets us apart, is how thorough we are with the brain.
Yeah, yeah. So again, we're not doing any kind of like testing that's painful. We're not doing any testing that's invasive at all, and we're not doing any like really expensive tests like MRIs, CAT scans. But we can get a really good idea how someone's brain's working just by doing those functional tests. And like we showed with the cerebellum, that's probably as painful as it gets. And that really wasn't that painful, was it? So we do those things, and that can really help us determine how someone's brain is working. Yeah. So again, we're doing wellness physicals during the month of August. We do have a discount on them. We're doing wellness physicals actually all the time throughout the entire year if people want to have that done. But during August, we know it's a time when summer's ending and people are trying to wrap up things, get into doctors and such before the fall starts and things get really busy with sports and such. And so below the video here, there's a link where you can look and learn more about these physicals that we do, what we do during the physicals. And again, one major part of it is to test how someone's brain's working. In that link, though, you can see what the cost of it is and how you can go ahead and get scheduled for it. Really, the easiest way is just phone our office, 952-949-0676. So again, Dr. Aaron Moreland here with Dr. Ryan Christensen from Vallejo Health and Wellness Center here in Eden Prairie. And hopefully you're having a great summer, enjoying these beautiful Minnesota summers. This is why we live here, right? So you guys have a great rest of the day, and God bless.